Welcome to the Getting High on Leadership series featuring Paul Karasik. Paul is one of America's top management consultants helping leaders succeed. He is the author of 9 books, including Sweet Persuasion and Brilliant Thoughts and Provocative Questions. His insights appear regularly in major publications, and he is one of the most sought-after executive coaches. Paul founded the American Seminar Leaders Association and the Psychedelic Institute of Los Angeles. He is a popular speaker at national conferences and has been on stages across all 50 states and internationally. Paul's work addresses the question, how can we transform conflict in business into collaboration? With decades of experience in management, leadership, and psychedelics, he brings a unique perspective on personal and societal growth. In this series, we'll be discussing his latest book, Getting High on Leadership, The Leader's Guide to Higher Consciousness. We'll be exploring the concepts, techniques, and mindset required to revolutionize leadership. Enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the series. My name is Sanchez, your host, and we're joined by Paul Karasik, the author of Getting High on Leadership. Making our way through the book section by section. Today, we'll be talking about the section Visionary Leadership, which can be found on page 62. Welcome, Paul, the visionary for this book and series. Man, where does leadership begin there, and why is the vision so important?
Well, we've mentioned vision earlier, Rob, but to me, vision is the deliverable for a leader. It's the one non-negotiable. It's the one element that cannot be reproduced by somebody else in the group. Is vision. It can be simultaneously projected by everybody in the group, that vision. But the leader is usually the one that establishes the vision for the future. And that is the rally. That's the cry. That's the rallying cry for the group, is that vision of where we're going, to see an improved future, to see new manifestations of the group, of the goals, of where we could be, where we could end up. It's imaginative visioning, right? It's an imagination process. It's a creative process.
Yeah, it does take some creativity there to take the present, all the pieces on the board as they are now, and kind of look at what it could be, or look at a group you're leading and want to change that or lead it towards a better outcome or a better productivity on the workplace.
Well, seeing that, to see what doesn't exist and then to manifest it is the ultimate creativity, isn't it? I mean, it really is. It's like, as a writer, you begin with a blank page, and in the end, something's created. As an artist, you might have a certain kind of vision of what you want to see in the paper. It's the seed of all creativity, is this vision thing. And everybody visions, it's not something that's reserved. There's not a technique. I always remind people, visioning it happens all through the day. It's when you get up in the morning and you have a cup of coffee and you just sit there before you get into all the minutia and answering emails and all this other stuff. You just sit with presence and you imagine. And you can imagine what the future would look like. You can imagine long-term goals. You can imagine and vision your day before it occurs. And visioning, has been shown to be a critical part. Years ago, they used to do these studies. I think they still do it, but the initial study was done quite a while ago, about 20 years ago, on visioning and its effect. And they took Olympic athletes, and one group did visioning and the physical workouts that were necessary to win the Olympics. The other group did no physical training, but just did visioning. And the results are worth reading about. That the visioning process impacted the results almost equally.
Yeah, that mindset can really determine it, huh? It kind of connects it to the dots from the earlier sections around subconscious and kind of what you set your mind to, and kind of how your conscious wants to seek authenticity with that, right? And actually be what it is that you say you want or say you're moving towards. And it's also interesting, I think earlier in this series, we also talked about having to focus more on the present and stop getting distracted or living too much in the past or the future. But this section is a little bit of a balancing piece to that, and saying like, okay, but sometimes it is right to actually project your thoughts, right? And find that future. I guess it really is, though, knowing when to do that and when to let it be. You don't want to live in that vision maybe permanently after you see it.
You would never be in the now. Yeah, you would always be in the future that doesn't exist. You bring up a great point. And so what is that balance? The balance is to feel in the present that the future already exists. Because the ultimate reality is, and we won't go deep into this, but time is a construct. On the highest level of consciousness, there is no time. Time is a human egoic construct. So manifestation tomorrow is manifestation today, if in fact time is a mental construct, which I believe it is, and I think I've experienced that in terms of it, it's a made-up concept, put simply.
It's an interesting way to look at like innovation and creativity with that lens, in seeing that idea or that solution or that vision not coming from an idea, but coming from something that already is, essentially, but later, or that you need to take action now to embody.
But you bring up a great point. How do we stay in the now and still have a vision? The truth is that we're doing this unconsciously every day. And all I'm asking in this chapter is for us to do it consciously. For example, you get up in the morning, you're in a bad mood. I'm out of coffee. Oh, damn it. And I'm running late, and oh man, and all the forces of the world are working against me. And, I went to grab that cab and somebody else got it. And now I'm late for my thing. And I'm out there fighting against the world, and the day continues in that vision. It seems like everything is working against you, because that's your vision of the day.
So looking at that vision on the daily scale, and then
on the daily scale, I could say, did I have a vision of this particular chapter that we're going through today before we got on the phone? So I could have a vision of how am I, Rob and I, going to dance around these topics today, and what's the vibe? So visioning is a tool if we use it consciously. If we're unconscious, that we're putting out their fears, anxieties, uptightness, we're putting all that energy out. Guess what comes back? All the same stuff. So what I'm saying is that we have to become conscious creators and be aware and conscious of, and we talked about this a while ago, being the observer and saying, okay, these things are happening, but I am not these things. And actually using that power of visioning consciously, so to say, from the minute we get up. Before you do a presentation, how do I see in the future? Because we say in this chapter, everything in life happens twice. First in our mind, and then out there in the external world. I've said that in front of thousands of people over the course of my career, and I've never had one person argue with that. And a lot of times people will argue with things I say, or they'll show me another angle of something, or did you really think about that? But this particular statement, which again, put out there many, 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 many times. Nobody ever argues with. I might even ask the audience, do you
Try to,
yeah, do you see, do you feel this is the truth, that everything in life happens twice, first here and then out there, and everybody knows that. So when it comes to leadership, we have to embrace this vision, right? Number one. And same with we talked about mission in the last chapter. That mission has to be communicated every day. It has to be it's not some dead thing written in a, where you walk in the building. And our mission statement is it's a living, breathing entity connecting the individual to a greater or higher purpose. The same with the vision. When we all get aligned to the same vision, when you and I have the same vision about this particular podcast, then things happen very, very smoothly and synchronistically, and we affect each other in a harmonious way, and the people get the most out of it when we're sharing that vision. I heard a teacher say years ago, the secret to marriage, and this applies, I think, to all relationships. He said the secret to marriage is, think of it like two oxen, and the oxen have the rings in their nose, and there's a string that goes from one ring to the other ring. And as long as the oxen are walking in the same direction, there's harmony. It's when one of the oxen goes, so when the vision is the same, when the oxen are walking towards the same vision, which could be food or water or whatever the case may be, they're in harmony, that vision, and when they go off to the side, that's when the noses get tugged on and it becomes painful to be in relationship. And I see that same kind of analogy here when we talk about leadership. So I have to communicate, not only do I have to have the vision, but I have to communicate that vision on a regular basis in the things I do. We're going to be the number one group in blah, blah, blah. And that becomes thematic. People start talking about that. We start to see that. We start to see that it's possible. We start to head towards the goal. Knowing what the vision is and sharing it on a regular basis and embedding it in the culture is what creates that incredible synergistic effect in teams.
It's like sowing the vision, right? Just planting all these seeds of that vision within the team members.
Exactly. It's planting the seeds. And I would say the best image that I've ever found for this is rowing. And when you have an 8-man row team, my daughter was a rower, so I kind of got to watch a lot of races through the years, and the beauty of everybody seeing the same goal and all hitting the water together, all feathering those oars together, that rhythm, that timing, that synchronicity is so powerful. The boats
that's the mountaintop for a team right there. To look like that from the outside and have that discipline and practice.
Yeah, and so, the coxswain is up there and he's kind of like guiding, he's kind of like the eyes and the vision, and they're there, and the rowers are the extension of that, and it's just one unit moving forward at the fastest possible rate towards the end result, the end goal. And that's a beautiful thing to watch. And that's what happens when teams, again, energized and passionate about the ultimate mission and purpose, and get that clear vision. So vision is, in simple terms, is how we see the mission being accomplished. That's what vision is. How we see it being accomplished. So if somebody says, my vision is that I become independently wealthy by the time I'm 35, whatever. That's my vision, and I can do charitable work and so on and so forth. That's a worthy vision. And the truth is, it's achievable, it's measurable, and if everybody on board the team was focused on that same final
That
goal.
same process to get there.
It goes fast. It goes fast. And
Yeah.
so the vision has to be the how. How are we going to become independently? My mission is to become independent so I can do charitable work by the time I'm 35. Great vision for your life.
But
How
what
is
are
that
the
going to happen?
actions I need to take?
What are
How
the
long?
actions?
Or who
Yeah,
needs
where
to
does
do
that money
them?
come from? It doesn't come from thin air, and it doesn't come from law of attraction. I'll just think my money, and it's going
Yeah.
to show up. It's going to come
There
through.
is
Here's
some
the
work
V.
or some planning that needs to be done here, and
Yeah,
that's where the future is your friend, and looking forward, speculating a little bit into the future on what you may need, what the team may encounter. And yeah, that's something that is at times very difficult to do. But I think if you start planning for a group, whether it be your family or a small group or even a workplace, you only get better at that over time once you try. So it's just really getting started. And I think you mentioned the easiest way to do that is really just looking at your day and having that vision for like what's something that you need to accomplish that day. What's the goal? And maybe
yeah,
people already do this subconsciously. Many do, right? You know, kind
yeah.
of today's Friday. I have to talk to Paul today at 10:30. But maybe just being
Exactly.
more conscious about it, I think, is the distinction. Kind of what this chapter is asking for. Then,
Conscious visioning. Yeah, absolutely. And this is a creative process. It's really the ultimate creative process, isn't it? I mean, you're creating something from nothing. It doesn't get any more creative than
yeah,
that.
yep. Just like
And
finding
so
that
it
next
begins
word of
with
a book.
the nothing. It's really not nothing. It's the vision of how you see the future evolving. And so I just want to encourage people, find your way of visioning. Like I said, for me, it might be getting up in the morning, having my coffee, and just sitting and kind of thinking about the day and seeing, kind of reviewing it. And we call this pre-paving.
Mm.
Pre-paving. So, like paving the way for the events that you want to happen. The visioning is the pre-paving of that. It's to see it, to see a good performance, to see a good presentation, to see harmony in the workplace or within your group, to see it before it happens. The chance of it happening, the chance of success is increased exponentially. And just to put a
Yeah,
bow on
yeah,
this, it's not enough, again, for the leader to have the vision, but the leader has to continually communicate the vision through in all the processes, letting people know where we are in terms of getting to that vision, communicating, supporting, adjusting, to your point just a minute ago, making changes. And I always exhort people to have fun with the visioning. Have fun with it. It's a creative process. So whatever you want to imagine, um, spend more time with it. Create time for yourself where you are doing this. Like I said, it's the only thing that cannot be redone by somebody else in terms of leadership. If
this
you're
is really
it,
where that skill set of the leader is honed down to this very specific action.
it's
No one
very
else in the
specific
company or
action.
in the team would be embodying
No,
that.
no,
Yeah,
this is the leader's role.
I can
And
see
by
it.
the way,
Yeah.
it could be a shared vision, and it could be a vision that other people contribute to. I'm not just saying it's got to be, monolithic
From the
vision.
mind of one person.
No, not at all. Not at all. And great leaders facilitate the visioning process with the group. How do we see this happening? How are we going to get to this particular financial goal or
Mm.
manifestation? All of a sudden, now you've got collegial leadership, and so we were talking about the leader having the vision, but that vision should be always contr- contributed to and shared by the entire and everybody who's
Right.
involved in the
Even though
process.
it's
That's how
so
you
even
get a
though it's maybe
buy-in.
owned by the leader,
Own
the
exactly.
vision is honed with an H by everyone
That's
else,
right.
right?
That's right. I
I
think we
think that
got this one down. Thank you.
excellent, Paul. No, thank you for the wisdom here and looking forward to the next conversations. Folks, thank you for watching and listening. As always, you can find a link to the book below. Check it out on Amazon or a library or bookstore near you, and join us on the next episode. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Getting High on Leadership series. If you have any questions, you can comment below or send them in via email to paul@paulkarasik.com. Follow him on Instagram at PK_the conversation. Find out more at wholesalerinstitute.com and psychedelic-awakening.com. The Getting High on Leadership series is produced by Rob Sanchez and Apartment 113, which can be found at apartment113.com and followed on Instagram at APT_113.